Okay, welcome to Math 128, which is not college algebra. Sorry about that. Contemporary math. So you might see that whatever shows up on the screen is actually being recorded. So that way, if you do miss class, I do post it to Blackboard. And that way you can go and find out what you missed and typically go over lecture, notes, and then also some homework problems that I'll assign. And I can kind of go over the details of the class. But anything that is on the screen is being recorded. And I'll zoom in here. Some of this might not show up too big on the screen, but once we get to the lecture, it's a lot bigger. And I also lecture by various different means, but I'll give you guys it's almost like a PowerPoint of examples, but you guys have a print off of just the examples written out with blank space to write it through. That's going to be very similar to your homework problems, which will be very similar to your exam problems. So I kind of view my role as organize, present, and give you every opportunity to learn the material. So instead of you reading your textbook, you going through it, doing the homework problems, and taking the tests on your own, I'm guiding you through that. So that's kind of where I view my job, is to help you get through this material. Question?
Recorded as mine. Sound quality?
Yes. Oh. Yeah, so the Surf is doing everything. So, yeah, it's being recorded. Okay. That way,
that's pretty cool.
It could be used. I know OTC has policies, though, you have to physically be here. So you don't get away from that, but in the case where something happens, you don't totally miss class, or if you do, you can go and watch it. Now, it's not necessarily the same, but it gives you something that you wouldn't necessarily have. A little bit about myself. I graduated, it used to be UMR, but now it's Missouri University Science and Technology. I graduated with a bachelor's in math. Then I taught high school for a year in Willow Springs. Does anyone know where that's at? Little tiny Willow Springs. I went back to Rolla and got my master's in math. So when I was getting my master's, I taught 2 years there in the graduate teaching program. I taught mostly college algebra, and then I taught 3 semesters of differential equations. After graduating there, I went to UMKC, so University of Missouri, Kansas City, and I taught 2 years face-to-face there. So anywhere from college algebra to Calc 3. I got involved with the Math for Teachers program there, and so when my husband moved to Springfield, I had to resign, but when I resigned, they said, well, how about we just take you fully online? So I teach 4 online classes through UMKC. This course, this contemporary math, is one I teach through UMKC, and last fall, I actually adjunct for Missouri State, and I taught this same course at Missouri State. And last summer, I taught it for OTC. So I've taught this course at 3 different universities using 3 different books, but it's the same content, and it transfers to all those universities as kind of the same math for liberal arts. So this course is a wide range of disciplines in math. It doesn't get too in-depth. We just kind of hit them all. We hit some set logic. We hit some probability statistics. We hit a little bit of right triangle trigonometry. So we just kind of sample through them all. So I kind of like to take this time to go around, and you guys can tell me your name and tell me what your degree program is or what you plan to do. I know last time I taught it, I had a lot of pre-service teachers, which is something that you go and take the MOGIA. So I tried to kind of stress those topics that are on the MOGIA, because that was, they really cared about that. And it's hard to get you motivated in the class to learn the material when you're like, I don't even care, I just want to be, something has nothing to do with that. If I can show you, if you're going to take the MOGIA to be a pre-service teacher, I like to really say, hey, this is sets, this is going to come up there, you're going to have to know this notation. And that's half the battle of math. If you don't know what it's asking, you have no clue how to even begin. So the class tries to give you a wide variety of, notation, logic, and work through the problem. So if you want to just go ahead and start and stand up, say your name, tell me what you want to study or what you're at OTC for, why you're in this class, and then one thing you like about math.
Well,
so you might have to dig deep, but come up with something.
I'm Colin.
I think that kind of helps me get, some insight into why you're here and, your future, and so that way I can bring that into the lecture. Blackboard has a lot of useful links that I put in the class. So like I said before, I teach online courses through UMKC, so I tend to use a lot of resources online. Like, I'm recording this lecture, it's going to be posted. Anything I give you, a physical copy, I will post that to Blackboard. So, that way, I take my job as to give you every opportunity to learn the material. Whether or not you learn it, I can't sit here and shove it down your throat as much as I try and hope it's going to be absorbed. So, plug in my computer. Oh, we do? I like this computer. It works. For my use, it's very...
Video recording or just audio recording?
Video and audio. So it has a mic. And the mic is not the best, and I might end up getting external mic, so it's a little bit better. But it's audio and video. And I will post that. The whole board. So Blackboard, you can see I've had your syllabus and policies. So I paste that in there, but I've also created a link so you can open that and print it as a Word document. So just to kind of go over the syllabus, go back to the course syllabus. Now you guys can read through this. Some of the highlights I want to hit. I have office hours by appointment. Last semester, I'm always going to be in my office on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays before this class. So if you want to stop by, if you have any questions, it kind of helps me to know you're coming. Because sometimes I'll plan to do various different things, make extra worksheets or print off things, meet with other instructors, things like that. So if you say, hey, I'm going to stop by on Monday, will you be in your office at 10? I can say, yeah, I'll be there and be there to meet you. So I don't have set office hours. They're just by appointment. And I can be flexible before or after class. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays is when I'm on at OTC. So required material, you'll need the textbook and a scientific calculator. And this is actually the second or third edition. The bookstore updated the third edition without... so I'm an adjunct here, so they don't tell me too much. Last summer it was the second edition, and they updated the third edition for 2015. So second or third edition.
What's an adjunct?
An adjunct is someone that is not full-time and that just teaches a class or two.
So you come here and then you can
I just teach 2 classes here. I think
Okay.
5 classes is full-time.
Do you have an office?
I have a computer lab that I share with other adjuncts.
Okay. That's
So they don't have to pay you.
It's so they don't have to pay me very much at all. But
Most teachers are adjuncts here.
at OTC. But I feel like it gives you guys a better approach because they want to be here. They want to teach. They enjoy it. They're not necessarily doing it for the money because I could work at McDonald's and make more. But, yeah. We won't go too much into that.
I just had to ask because I have 2 other teachers.
That said that?
Yeah. I was like, I don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
And basically, they're just, a lot of times they'll be retired teachers that can't work full-time due to pensions or whatnot, so they teach 1 or 2 classes a semester.
A lot of my teachers are still in college too.
Okay.
Because I've been here for a few years now. So.
Okay, so they're still maybe getting a master's? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to teach at a community college, you just need a bachelor's. But, course objectives, we're going to really do 4 things. We're going to talk about solving various types of counting problems, like if I have so many red marbles, so many blue marbles, and so many white marbles, how many different ways can I rearrange them? Or, how many different ways can I group 30 people in groups of 2 and have different groups? Things like that. So permutations and combinations, I don't know if you've seen this type of things. Like if you have to have a 4-digit PIN number for your credit card, how many different ways can you have that? And then, changing it to 1 has to be a thimble. How many does that increase? Things like that. Solve problems using probability theory. So we're going to talk about discrete random variables, and we'll talk about probability meeting a certain criteria, so things that are randomly distributed fall in a certain manner. So we can talk about the probability being over standard deviation or under standard deviation. A lot of times this is, again, I talk to my pre-service teachers, when you talk about standardized testing, we want to look about where your student falls, what that means. We'll talk about mean, median, and mode. So if I gave a test in here and I said the average was 50, saying, okay, I added up all the students' score and divided by how many there were. But I could say maybe the median was 87. I mean, half the class did better than 87. And talk about the average being 50. Well, what does that mean about the bottom half of the class? So we'll talk about those terminology and then how to calculate it. A lot of this class is terminology. This is what it means. This is a set. This is the notation. This is an element of the set. So we talk about the definition of these things, and then we apply them in problems. We won't do too much with graphical measure, a little bit with the distribution. We'll see a little graph of it, but we don't go too much into graphs. We do a little bit of, how to organize data, like stem and leaf plots, bar graphs, circle diagrams, things like that, or pie charts. So we won't do like graph x squared. We might say present the data in a graph. And then the last thing we'll talk about is a little bit of right triangle trigonometry that shows up on the Magia, like if you have a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, or Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared, that type of stuff. So we'll talk about the terminology and then go ahead and apply the problems. Grading scale is OTC standard, so no plus or minus grade, which is kind of nice when you have to have, a B to get in the next class and a B minus doesn't exist, so that's nice. Again, the 4 contents that we're really going to hit are sets and counting, probability, trig, and statistics. So those are the kind of the 4 branches of mathematics that we go over.
What's the difference between probability and statistics?
Statistics is the likelihood something's going to happen, or the probability. It can be empirical or experimental. So you can go, if I poll you guys right here, so if I do, how many of you are first-time college students? And then I could say, you guys are a sample, and then I could look outside of, okay, so if there's 30 of you here and there's 15,000 people at OTC, what is, how many students at OTC are roughly first-time students? So you can go back and forth with statistics, and probability is more experimental probability. It's experimental probability, and how does that relate to empirical probability? So, over time, there's some really nice examples in biology where you want to, run experiment. Mendel and his pea pods, he did that, and he showed that one was dominant, one was recessive. So the experimental probability over time should follow the math of it. So, and then statistics gets into the mean, median, and mode. So probability is more running experiments and finding the data from that mathematically, and statistics is taking a bunch of experiments and then getting numbers from that. So they're related.
I thought they were one and the same. But
yeah. It probably also depends on who you talk to. If you talk to a biologist or if you talk to a scientist, probability is running experiments. With math, we don't think, we're not flipping a coin 5,000 times. I'm sorry. We're just going to say the probability is a half. Empirical probability. But if you flip a coin 10 times, you could get heads 6 out of those 10 times. That doesn't mean the probability is 6 out of 10 or 3 out of 5. So empirical and experimental. They're related, but statistics is more after the fact.
Okay.
So the way you will be graded in this course, there's going to be 4 tests and a final, like those 4 units we talked about. The nice thing about this class is a lot of the units don't build on each other like college algebra or typical math classes, right? Typical math class, you need to understand week 1 to go to week 2 to understand week 3 to understand week 4. And within the units, it's somewhat like that, but each individual test is different. So students might, do 100% on test 1, 100% on test 2, and then just bomb test 3, and then get 100% on test 4, because they're totally different sections. So it's kind of once that test one, you can kind of say, okay, I'm starting fresh and I'm going to really understand this material. So if you do get bogged down on a certain topic, don't give up because it's still possible you can recover. The final is going to be 25% of your overall grade, and the nice thing about your final is it can replace your lowest test score. So maybe you had one unit that just killed you. You're not a goner, so keep coming to class, keep working, and that final can replace that lowest test grade. And then textbook assignments is 15% of your overall grade. That is the same as a test. So your textbook assignments, which we will go over a lot of them in class, they will be due the day before the test, which doesn't give you much time for feedback, but I want to give you that time to work on them. I'll answer any questions in class after we get done lecturing. I'll say, okay, I will pull up the textbook assignments. I actually have, you can see them right here.
So all of that, like, until the first week or whatever, February, none of our assignments are due.
Correct. Yes. So you have your time to, ideally, I lecture over a section, you go and do all the assignments. All the ones you can do, right? If you struggle, then you go to the help center, you go see me, and go like that. The day before the test will be review, and your assignments will be due after class. So if you say, I need to work on these 3 still, it's like, I obviously don't know this, the test is the next class period, I need to understand it before I turn in the homework assignment. So I was debating about how to do that, and I think that kind of works out best for everyone. I don't know your schedules, how much you have going on in your life. If you need to get it done early, you know that. But that way, you can be responsible as you go to make sure, okay, I really understand 2.1, I have no problem. 2.2, I'm struggling with, I need to get help before the test. So to calculate your percentage, that's there. You can redo that. Attendance policy. This is where OTC gets very strict with the attendance. Administrative withdrawal. I have to drop you if you miss more than 10 total classes. So I take attendance, you sign in, that means you're here. So, or if you miss 6 consecutive class periods. So if you miss 2 full weeks, you get withdrawal. Now you can go talk to someone, I don't know who it is, you go talk to, and you can get back into class and you can keep your grade where you're at. This protects me to saying, listen, I followed the OTC policy, whatever happened, why you missed class, I don't necessarily need to know that. I just have to count you absent if you're absent. So if you have a death in the family, then you're still absent. But please email me and I can give you anything. Check Blackboard, the lecture will be posted so you can get that. You know when homework is due, you know when the exams are. So, whatever's going on, if you let me know, I'm willing to work with you, but I still have to count you absent. But that way, if you can go to the dean or whoever you go talk to and say, listen, these are the reasons I missed, he has to let you then make a decision if you can get back in the class. So it's kind of out of my hands at that point. But it protects me to say, listen, I followed your protocol. So OTC is a attendance taking institution, so they get funding based on attendance, so they have to report it. So that's kind of the reason there. And then you can read the rest of it, nothing too exciting. We talked about the calendar. So I gave you actually 2 calendars. We have the calendar that just says what we're covering that day. So today we're just going over the syllabus and the outline of the class. Did you get one?
Yeah.
I see this is online. Does that mean that you just want us to watch it online?
Yes. I actually have 2 conferences this semester on Fridays. So instead of just canceling class, I will go over material online, and it might be homework questions, it might be the lecture, it would be kind of what I do in class. It's going to be a little shorter. There may or may not be a little quiz that you can take at the end of it. Say if you take this quiz, you're going to get attendance credit. So that way I can say, hey, we had face-to-face, we had contact that day because I have to have so many contact hours for you to have credit for this course. So if I'm not here, then instead of getting a sub or something, I can just say we did this online, and it was this contact with material online. So it will be something similar to videos like we do. It might have a couple, checking points of quizzes that may or may not be graded. But it would be part of your homework.
Where do we find that on Blackboard?
You'd be on Blackboard. So I will go over more of this on Tuesday or on Wednesday, but on lectures and handouts, that's a good question. that we kind of lead to. Lectures and handouts are going to be anything that I print off in class. So the syllabus and class outline, see link for class recording. It's being recorded now, so I don't have the link. But as soon as the class is over, I go ahead and post that link. It will be a YouTube link. I found YouTube works almost on any medium, whether it's iPhone, iPad, Android. So that will just be a link right there. So in chapter 2, if you open this folder, okay, 2.1, so this will be the material we talked about, 2.1, and there'll be a C link that's recorded for Wednesdays, and then I'll add a link that's recorded for Fridays. I'll actually send out an announcement with an email for that link as well. So yeah, I'll email that. It will just be a link to watch, and then it might be a Blackboard one so that Blackboard can verify that you watched that link, because I can get statistics from Blackboard. So yeah, so you can see I've already posted 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and this is, there's going to be 3 different things that are posted. One's going to be a PowerPoint, one's going to be a Word document. Let's just save the file. And one's going to be a Word document that is just the homework. So I will print these out and bring them to class. So this would be, something we would cover in class. These would be all the problems we'd go over. Now, the lecture is going to be more what's going to be on the PowerPoint. Let's see if I can open the PowerPoint. And this is going to be the notation. This is what a set is defined as. Instead of having you write that out in class, because we have, 50 minutes of class time, you don't have a lot of time to write definition, I give you that. So I give you the definition. Usually it's about 2 or 3 pages of PowerPoints that come to 3 each. Let me give you guys an idea. I have a couple printed out. So I'll bring these for you guys that are the PowerPoints that we would go over, and then within my PowerPoint that I go over is the embedded examples. So your example, what you would have is the example, just the wording of the example, right? Write the set of months of the year that begins with the letter M. So that would be during the PowerPoint. So you're kind of filling out these examples as we go. So the definitions, things like that would be given to you, and we go over them that way. So, and you can see I have them all for chapter 2, and then as we go and record the class, I'll have that recording. So if you get back and say, oh, I'm not understanding this question, or I don't understand how I got this answer, you can go back to the recording and say, oh, this is what she said, this is how she worked it through, this is what it means. So that can be beneficial that way.
So you will print off things?
I will print off them and bring them to class. I found if, you can print them off, and if you want to let me know, hey, I'm just going to print my own off because I like them bigger, or I like to edit them, or I like to highlight them before I print them off, just let me know, and then I'll just, decrease my copies. I found if I don't, some people forget, and they don't come to class, or they're late to class because they wanted to print them off, or they just sat there and twiddle their thumbs. So I want to give you guys all the resources I can give you to succeed in this class. So I can print them off for you and just pass them out as we go, and then start the lecture. Yeah, so there will be 2 online classes. Friday will be an online class, and I'll cover the rest of 2.1 material that we don't finish on Wednesday. So I'll just pick up there. I'll go over all the examples that you have on that sheet, so you can fill that in, and then I'll answer any questions in class that Wednesday, because we don't have school Monday. So it's kind of a slow start, but I think we'll be okay. So today was just kind of, everything in the class. We didn't go over any material. Wednesday we'll go over 2.1, so we'll just kind of get started. And you can look on Blackboard, get a feel for, where I post things, anything like that. But anything I give you, I also post. So if you lose it, you're not too much in trouble if you can get that on Blackboard. And sometimes it's nice to go to prepare for exams is to print off blank copies and so you can go through and do them. All right, I will see you guys on Wednesday. If you have any questions, send me an email at my OTC address that's on the syllabus. And good luck.
I have actually taken 130 twice now and dropped it both times because I couldn't get stuff on leaves, so that's why.
So that's why you're in here?
Because I hate